Hello guys, I hope you're well. Welcome to 𝐒𝐢𝐦 𝐔𝐊 𝐑𝐄𝐕𝐈𝐄𝐻. So you may or may not have heard about this new super duper registry tweak that will increase your FPS in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Well, I first heard about it from 𝗏𝗏𝑁G Driver, a fantastic up-and-coming YouTuber who does a lot of flight simulation stuff. You should definitely check him out if you haven't already. Just say hi from me if you go and join him. And he in turn heard it from 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝐻87, who wrote in the Flight Sim forum that he had found a fix that totally transformed his flight simulation experience. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how to perform this tweak, and then I'm going to show you my tests with that tweak enabled. So you quite simply open the reg editor, and if you've never done this before, don't panic too much. It's not as big and scary as everyone tries to make it out that it is. As long as you follow the steps very closely, you'll be fine. So it's ℏkey local machine, then you find system, and then you look for current control set, services, and then finally NDU. As long as you only open those folders, you'll only be exposing yourself to this area. You can always go back in and reset your changes. Basically what you're going to do is set a single value from 2, which means activated, to 4, which effectively means deactivated. Now this appears to be some sort of a 𝐒𝐢𝐦 reporting system where they track your stats or something like that, and turning it off theoretically should improve performance. Unfortunately for me, it really didn't make very much difference at all, and I'll show you how much difference it made in a moment. But you just go in, right click on start, modify, change the 2 to 4, which I think changes it from auto start to manual start, and then effectively that is done. You can close that, and then you must restart your system. So in order to test this, I'm running a 4K 30 FPS lock, which I'll change to 60 FPS for the benefits of this test. High-end rendering, and I'm running a 1080 Ti with an i7 9700. Not K, not overclocked. For this particular test, I decided to fly the 𝐒𝐢𝐦 default A5, fantastic aircraft for sightseeing, etc. And I decided to fly at the Forbidden City in China because it's highly populated. Lots and lots of fantastic models are in here, and it's a real challenge on the system. And you can see when I first loaded in, there are lots of blue spots where things hadn't loaded properly. This is the first time I've flown on this machine in probably about 3 weeks. So I think it was just settling itself in. Anyway, the most important thing is that I've opened the dev tools. We've got the FPS counter up in the top right hand corner, which I'll make as big as possible. And we're sort of averaging 22, 23, maybe 24 FPS at a push. Now, thankfully, Microsoft Flight Simulator is so stunning to look at and so well optimized despite all the problems that we have. It actually still looks pretty good, even though I'm not hitting my target, which is 30 FPS, but we're in a heavily populated area. I am running head tracking. I do have a second monitor, which is a 1080p touchscreen. I have got 5 cameras attached, and I am recording. Now all of these things are obviously going to reduce the amount of FPS that I'm actually going to get as part of a test. You're at home, not recording, not creating content for YouTube. You're going to get probably a much bigger impact than I do. So I do urge you to try it out, and if it works for you, then please do let me know in the comments. I would love to hear that this fix actually does something positive for you. So for this test, I first ran a 4K 60 FPS high-end graphics default settings to see what FPS I would get from my default system without tweaking or changing anything. I picked the Icon A5 and decided to fly in the Forbidden City in China because it's heavily populated and has some incredibly stunning models there that you can really enjoy. So with my FPS output around 24, 25 maximum, so we're averaging between 23 and 25 FPS. It still looks pretty good. It's still pretty smooth. It's not as high as I would personally want it to be running. I would sacrifice graphics to boost FPS performance, but there are mitigating circumstances that reduce the amount of FPS that I'm going to be getting, of course. So then I applied the tweak, the registry tweak, reloaded my PC, recreated the same flight in the Forbidden City, and flew again. And this time, I guess we are getting a little bit more FPS, maybe 1 FPS higher. we're sort of averaging 24, 25, 26, and I think at one point it peaked up to 27. So yes, technically it did increase my FPS by about 3 FPS, and I am running 4K, plus all the cameras and the monitors and everything. So yes, there was a small improvement, nothing significant, but the tweak or the fix that I'm going to show you in a minute, it's not a tweak or a fix, it's something that's been there the whole time. It's not new, it's not a hack, it's nothing special, it's just a setting that you can change to guarantee higher FPS. I decided that the original poster, the guy who originally, what's his name? Now, 𝗦𝘂𝗯𝘀87 in his post mentioned that he was running a low-end PC or medium-end PC. So I figured perhaps he was running on medium graphics. So I decided to drop my graphics, my global rendering quality down to medium to see if maybe I got a higher FPS boost from that. And yes, I did. I was sort of averaging 30 FPS and peaking at about 32, 33 FPS. So yeah, that's around the area where I would deem it to be absolute bare minimum. Bearing in mind I'm still running unlocked to 60 FPS, so we're not exceeding 30 FPS, but we're sort of hovering just below or just on 30 FPS with these settings. There is an opportunity, there is something you can do to guarantee that you basically, almost certainly, will double your FPS. Now, this is not a hack, this is not a secret. The facility to do this has been there since day one, but many people don't mess about with the settings too much because perhaps they don't fully understand what changes are going to be made. If you're running a 4K monitor, you can reduce the render quality scale by 50%, thereby doubling your FPS, but still maintain a quality video. That, for a streamer or a recorder like me, is absolutely gold dust because it still looks fantastic. I'm still recording in 4K, and technically, I suppose, yes, we don't have the sharpness that you would necessarily get from 4K, but as I'll show you in this video, there really isn't much difference. And I'm only running this on medium settings right now. As proven in my test, the difference between medium settings and the high-end settings is actually not that different in terms of FPS, so I could actually boost my quality settings up even higher. Now 2K at 60 FPS I think is perfectly adequate, and bearing in mind this is a 1080 Ti, this is nothing special, it's an old graphics card now. The new RTX cards will probably be able to do this standing on their heads. But it's not those guys that I'm trying to help, it's the guys like me with systems that are getting a little bit old perhaps. You've got yourself a nice 4K TV, or perhaps you're running a 2K monitor and you're quite okay with the idea that you're going to have a 1080p resolution. Bearing in mind, Microsoft Flight Simulator looks fantastic at 1080p as well as 2K. If you're not recording for YouTube, it's not going to bother you that much. You can double your FPS. The benefits of this is, obviously everything runs smoother. If you've got head tracking, that will be smoother. Everything will be more precise and accurate, and it's just more enjoyable to fly with these higher FPS numbers. Now, you don't have to go exactly 50%, you could go 75%, you could go 80%. Basically, any tweak you place on this to reduce the resolution scale will boost your FPS. It really is as simple as that.